You can work and make money for your entire life. But if you lack financial knowledge, you will still end up struggling just like everyone else. That is the reality for many people. They earn a monthly salary, yet they are constantly worried. And that is simply because they do not know how to use the money they make. Money, on its own, does not create abundance. Only when it is transformed into food and real value does money truly become meaningful. So in today's video, I am going to share with you some simple financial principles to help you build a solid foundation and use your money more effectively. And to make things easier to understand, let's begin with the story of Bobo. Rule number 1. Do not put your money where you cannot see the way back to bread. Bobo goes to work every day. He leaves the house in the morning, comes home tired at night, but feels at peace because he knows he is trading time and effort for money. At the end of the month, Bobo receives a salary of 3,000 United States dollars. This money will go toward meals, rent, and everything else in life ahead. Bobo takes out 100 United States dollars, walks into his favorite bakery, and buys bread. The money leaves Bobo's hand and instantly returns in the form of bread, something he can touch, smell, eat, and live on. The problem starts when Bobo, holding the little money he has left at the end of the month, starts thinking about making it grow. That is when Lulu comes in, telling him there is a great opportunity. All Bobo has to do is hand over the money, and it will grow much faster than just letting it sit. Bobo asks, "So where exactly is my money going? And when is it coming back to me as bread?" Lulu answers vaguely, saying the system is pretty complicated, but Bobo just needs to trust her. At that moment, Bobo realizes he can no longer see the path that turns money back into real, usable value. Here is how you should think. If you hand over your money but have no idea what product it creates, who buys that product, and ultimately how that turns back into bread, that essential thing that keeps us alive, or anything else you can actually use, then that is not investing. That is just hoping. Bread does not bake itself, and money does not generate value in the dark. From that point on, Bobo learned his first important rule for building strong financial health. Never invest in something you do not understand. Rule number 2. Debt is not bad, but debt used the wrong way will take away all your bread. After learning the first rule, Bobo began to use his money more wisely. Every time he spent money, he knew exactly where it was going and what he was getting in return. Thanks to that, Bobo stopped wasting money or spending it without fully understanding what it was for. But soon, Bobo ran into a new problem. Even though he was spending wisely, the amount of money he had was still limited. After paying rent and covering daily living expenses, there was barely anything left. So when unexpected things happened like a hospital visit or a wedding invitation, he did not have enough. At first, Bobo thought about cutting back on bread to save money for those extra things. But he was really hungry, and he just could not take it. Bobo wanted to have enough bread to eat regularly each day, but with the money he had, that was just not possible. That is when Bobo began thinking about borrowing money. The idea made Bobo a little nervous because all his life, he had heard people say borrowing money was dangerous. Just then, Bobo met Mimi and told her about his worries. Mimi did not tell Bobo to borrow money right away. She also did not tell him to stay away from debt. Instead, she asked him one simple question. After you borrow the money, will you be able to make enough bread to pay it back? That question made Bobo think seriously. He came up with two possible situations. In the first situation, Bobo borrows money to buy an oven. With an oven, Bobo can bake more bread every day. Some of that bread he eats, and the rest he uses to pay off the debt. Day by day, the debt gets smaller, and the oven is still there, continuing to make bread. In the second situation, Bobo borrows money just to buy bread to eat. Once the money runs out, the bread is gone too. But the debt he took on to buy that bread, that still remains. Since no new bread is being made, Bobo has no idea how he is going to repay what he owes. When comparing the two, Bobo slowly began to understand where the real issue lies. Debt is not necessarily bad. What matters is whether the loan helps you generate new bread afterward. If the loan helps you produce bread regularly enough to eat and repay what you owe, then it is a safe loan. On the other hand, if the loan is just used to buy bread that is eaten right away and does not help create more bread, then that is what makes it bad debt. From everything he observed and experienced, Bobo came to understand his second important financial rule. Only borrow money if that loan will help you create enough bread to pay it back. If you borrow money and do not create new bread, you will not just lose your bread, you will end up drowning in bad debt. Rule number 3. Money does not make bread, new skills do. Ever since Bobo got his new oven, life became a little easier. Each day, he baked enough bread to eat and still had some left to pay off his debt. From the outside, it looked like things were fine. It seemed like all Bobo had to do was hold on to his oven and his money. But one day, Bobo did not bake. That day, he had no bread to eat and no bread to pay back what he owed. That made Bobo pause and think. The oven was still there. He still had ingredients. He had not run out of money either. But because he did not do anything, no bread appeared. That was when Bobo realized money only helps prepare everything. The oven is just a tool. The ingredients are just materials. At this stage, when everything still depends on you, if there is no one who knows how to bake or is willing to bake, then none of it matters. Nothing is going to turn into bread on its own. Bobo looked over at Mimi's bakery next door. There were days when Mimi did not have more money than Bobo, but her bakery always had bread. Mimi baked consistently, quickly, and with fewer mistakes. Thanks to that skill, bread kept coming out of the oven every day, even when no extra money was coming in. Now Lulu was a different story. Sometimes Lulu had money, but since she did not know how to bake, the money slowly ran out, and so did the bread. Without skills, money disappears quickly and leaves nothing behind. From this, Bobo learned his third important rule for building strong finances. Income does not come from holding money or tools. It comes from your ability to create value and your control over that process. Rule number 4. Know the difference between bread that disappears and bread that makes more bread. As Bobo's baking skills improved, bread began to come out of the oven every day. With the same oven and the same amount of ingredients, Bobo could now produce enough bread to eat and still have some left over. At this point, Bobo's problem was no longer, how do I get bread? But rather, what should I do with the bread I have? Bobo started imagining different ways to handle the bread he made. In the first situation, Bobo ate all of the bread he baked each day. That day, he felt satisfied and no longer hungry. But if the next day he was tired or could not bake for some reason, then there would be no bread to eat and none to sell. Everything would come to a stop. In the second situation, Bobo did not eat all of the bread. He saved part of it and traded it for more ingredients, getting ready for the days ahead. That did not make more bread appear immediately, but it made sure that when Bobo returned to baking, he could start again right away without any delay. That way, life would not fall apart just because of one busy or exhausting day. After comparing the two approaches, Bobo clearly saw the difference. Having enough bread to eat each day is important, but keeping some bread saved up for unexpected situations is even more important. Saving bread does not replace the need to make more, but it gives you something to stand on when you temporarily cannot produce. And this became Bobo's fourth financial rule. Save a portion of your results, not just for today, but to prepare for days when life gets interrupted. Rule number 5. Think and act like a rich person. After sticking to his baking routine for a while, Bobo began to realize that just holding on to his bread was not enough. In the past, whenever he had to decide something, Bobo would ask himself, will this help me have bread to eat today? As long as he had enough bread for the day, he felt safe and avoided making changes. But the more he baked, the clearer one issue became. If he only focused on keeping what he had and never improved how he worked, he would eventually get stuck. That was when Bobo changed the question in his mind. Instead of asking, how do I avoid losing bread today? He began asking, will this help me make more bread in the future? Bobo realized some choices could save him a few loaves now, but they did not improve his skills, process, or ability to produce bread. Those decisions made today feel secure, but tomorrow stayed the same. On the flip side, he noticed that some decisions meant giving up a few loaves now. They took more effort, more learning, or slowing down a bit. But in return, he learned how to bake faster, more reliably, and with less effort. That gave him more than just enough he had extra. Looking at Lulu, Bobo saw she always focused on holding on to her bread, afraid to lose even a little. But her way of baking never changed. Year after year, Bobo was different. He saw that holding on to bread helps you survive, but improving your baking skills helps you thrive. That is why, before making a decision, Bobo always asked himself, will this help me level up my ability to bake? If the answer was yes, he was ready to face some short-term struggle. Because of that, Bobo not only saved bread, he kept making more of it. Now, reaching this point, Bobo has fully changed how he sees money and life. He understands that to keep the bread coming, he needs to know how to manage money, how to work effectively, and how to keep everything steady. Step by step, Bobo has learned to use money with purpose, borrow at the right time, build skills to create value, save part of his results for the future, and make thoughtful decisions every step of the way. Thanks to these things, Bobo's life has become more stable and less stressful. These lessons are simple but powerful, and they can be applied to everyday life. They help us avoid common mistakes, plan ahead, and stay in control when unexpected things happen. Financial education starts with small things like this. When you clearly understand each step you are taking, you will slowly gain control over your life and feel more confident about the future.